like survival, warfare, I guess making monsters. I don't know where to put that one. So that like David Livingstone Smith, he's like one of the like this guy Jonathan. Had it
Height?
hate
Hate?
hate.
I don't know.
It's similar stuff. It's like why people like how the people dehumanize other people, and I haven't read this one yet. Actually, I read his book before this one. I pre-ordered this one because after reading the other one, I was like, I need to get this one. But I'm one of those people that buys like 10 books at a time and then reads one like once a month.
Yeah.
So I keep getting my bookshelf gets bigger and bigger, and the ones like my red shelf is still pretty small. It's annoying. Or I'll do what you were saying is like I'll start and then I'll jump into this one. I'll start that one and then I'll forget about this one. Like when you brought back some of the books you borrowed from me, I was like, oh, is that mine? I want to read that. So
I'm very similar to that.
so I want, but like this one I read twice.
Oh, what is it?
This is Romeo Dallaire. That one and his Shake Hands with the Devil, because he was the one that inspired me before I learned more about the UN. I wanted to be a UN peacekeeper so bad, and because I only knew the surface level stuff. I heard and thought like, hey, bad people doing bad things, the UN goes and stops. And then I grew up and learned, I'm like, oh, okay, never mind. Because like the idea of I said it in one of my podcasts, like the idea of putting the bad guys down and picking the good guys up, like that's what I've always wanted to do. So it was kind of soul crushing with the whole military thing, but I got over it, kind of. Somebody mentioned that the amount I talk about it says to them that I haven't got over it.
Okay, do you want to, my idea was to just maybe, I say a random number just to make it fun for the clips, and you like read that page. So like page 77. And you
Okay.
can like read wherever, because it'll be kind of boring if we just summarize the books.
This
because-
might get pretty like some of these books, like this one, for example, this is about genocide.
Yeah, like, I know that some of them are very serious books, but like I feel like for clipping, it'll be like more interesting. Because otherwise, people can get a summary of the book themselves.
So this is
It's page 77.
so this page 77. In this, there's a fictional story, like so it's like a life of a little boy in Uganda. Uganda.
Uganda.
Okay.
I see. I have the Russian version of that.
Okay. And it's just like his story about like how his life being normal. He went to school. He was growing avocados, and then just overnight his life changed when like his village was attacked. And so I don't know what part this is, but it says we sometimes roamed as far as a train. Like, why am I the one reading this? I'm terrible. So I read well inside my head, but reading out loud I get nervous.
Well, this is practice. We should be doing. I love this episode. I love books.
Cleared in the bush, where very young children and some my age carrying sticks and knives were barked at by the older soldiers. These children were not wearing uniforms, but I knew that now they were soldiers too. One time I was approached. A group of them was sitting and listening to a commander give instructions. I moved close to a boy about my age, and at the end of the line sat down near him, greeting him quietly. He raised his eyes briefly and glanced away from me towards his commander, who was looking in our direction. I didn't know how to ask the question. It jumbled in my mind, so I just blurted them out one by one. What are you doing? How long have you been here? Is any of your family here with you? Have you ever tried to leave? The long pauses after my whispered questions were filled with silence from the boy, except for the last one, to which he finally mumbled, Leave? Where would I go? He glanced at his commander, whose attention was still elsewhere. Then he whispered, Papa knew the soldiers were coming. He and Mama argued about it. So in this point, he had like getting full of emotions because I know this whole book, but this was after he was taken, and there's several reasons why this book is important to me. Number one was it was the one that inspired me. Like I was very young when I heard about Romeo Dallaire. It happened like in the 90s, and I was probably too young to hear about it. But I heard that there's these bad people, and there's good people that are gonna go do something about it. I was like, I want to be the good person. I want to stop the bad guys, and that like I was like 5, and that became my identity. Like I was like, I'm gonna be a soldier. I'm going to pick up the good guys and put down the bad guys. So there's that aspect, like why this book is important to me. And then there's like, whenever I'm complaining or I get stressed out about life because work or Oh, maybe I don't have enough money for this bill or rent or whatever. I just, I got to flip this book open. It's like, you know what? At least nobody's murdered me and forcing my boys to become drug addicted psychopath soldiers. Like,
it's a reality in
yeah.
some.
And like the cover hits me too. Like these boys are 10 and 13, and they got guns bigger than they are. And so like when I think about like how like my kids and stuff, like, you know what? They still have me around. I'm still protecting them, and nobody's gonna do that to them. So it's an important book to me. As you can tell, it's kind of fallen apart. I've read it a few times. Oh, from barely news to this, Vitaly, it's too emotional.
I mean, but I think you reading the part was like a better than just describing the book. Not better. It gives it another.
I recommend this
how
book.
a book is written.
I recommend this book for people who, one, like I just said, like find themselves complaining a lot or thinking their life is pretty hard, because it will put things in perspective. It also is a good book to show like the saying, the path to hell is paved with good intentions. There's so many instances in here there. The UN, in my opinion, the UN is completely corrupt and evil. However, people in it, like people like me, like I wanted to get into it to help people. There's people in there that are good and want to help people, but this
And they probably do.
Yeah,
They do help, but it's.
there's a lot of there's stuff in here that highlights, like I said, the road to hell is paved by good intentions. There's a story in here where the UN went into a village that was repelling the raiders and stuff with their own weapons. The UN came in and said, "This village is now under our protection. Turn in your weapons." They turned in their weapons. Something came up. The UN pulled out, and overnight, everybody in the village was slaughtered. It was like a revenge thing. Like, oh, you held us back, so they killed everybody. And the village was doing well without the UN's help.
Do you think that was like a really stupid technical mistake, or was it done
I don't know. I go back and forth with this all the time. I have a good friend. A good friend of mine is always telling me, like, hey, I butcher this saying all the time, but don't attribute like malice when stupidity can easily explain it. But I'm like, some of these things are just too stupid. And now that I know how evil a lot of these corporations, government agencies, even NGOs, like how evil they are, or to, like I said, have good intentions but are just I don't know.
I get it. It's super complicated.
Yeah,
but
like it's too. Like,
so you're saying every 5-year-old should read this book?
No, see, I didn't read this when I was 5. I heard about the Rwandan genocide when I was 5, because I think that's when it was like.
Are you saying every dad should read this to bedtime story?
No, no, they should read. Like, I have to keep this up because I don't even want my sons to see the cover.
Yeah.
Like, my sons aren't ignorant to firearms. Like, they know dad has guns. Like, I teach them firearm. Well, Joel or Caleb, I teach firearm safety. And yeah, I don't like. Guns are not inherently bad. They're a tool. They're only as bad as the person holding them.
Yeah.
But yeah, just the idea, like, because my son, cause he's very intuitive too. He would see their faces and be like, "This is not good." Because I was like that. I would have seen that as a kid, and I'm like, "There's something bad's happening here. I don't like this." But yeah, I think it's an important read. Shake Hands with the Devil. I haven't finished that one yet, but this one I read so many times. Shake Hands with the Devil. I can't probably. Like, there's some books like I read The Rape of Nanking by Iris Chang. That's a one time only read. I could barely get through that. It's brutal. And so Shake Hands with the Devil is talking about the actual events, so it's very hard for her to get through. This one, like, it talks a little bit about Romeo Dallaire's his life, joining the military, Canadian Armed Forces. And then there's like a fictional characters, but based on real events in the middle. And then in the end, it just talks about, like, the thing I said, like, with the NGOs and then UN disarming that village and then having them all slaughtered because they're either the UN is incompetent or evil. Either way, I don't want anything to do with them anymore.
Shall we move on?
Yeah, let's go to something.
This is the most complicated book ever.
I can't even pronounce that. Is it all Russian, or what language is that?
It's English.
Oh. I just saw the accents and stuff. I'm like,
yeah, they put so they make it look like it's Sanskrit, so like old Indian, I guess, text.
Yeah.
But this is the book that I still come to.
You want me to show it to the camera? 'Cause I'm closer.
It's just a simple cover. It's just a title. But basically, this was written. All of this was written like 2,000, probably more years ago. So as a Christian, it's gonna
Yeah. Like the Old Testament was
older.
way older.
Yeah. But basically, the idea of this book is that there's all sorts of like, you know how you probably know, like there's yoga this, yoga that, yoga with goats, yoga, you know, like it's super popular now to like spread yoga into different, like I do yoga for my back. There's like different
You yoga with a rifle because you're
yoga
a
with a
weirdo.
rifle, yoga, like people call anything yoga. So like this was happening way back when, like 2,000 years ago too, in India. People like spread out into different camps to practice yoga
Well,
for
I think that happens with like
anything.
all religions and groups and or like organizations and everything. Like everybody
Yeah.
has like their own version, their own idea of the right way to do it.
So, but then this guy came and said, like, I'm gonna travel and I'm gonna accumulate it all into one. Like, what is the fundamentally what it all means?
Yeah,
And
what brings them all together,
yeah,
kind of. Yeah.
because at the core, there's always like some core of every practice that's very similar. And then he wrote.
Are you gonna read a page? 12.
I read 12. That's probably like the contents of the book.
Okay.
No, it's not.
Okay.
But I remember picking this book up when I was 16.
Yeah.
Reading like first sentence, I'm like, what is this talking about? Very complicated. But 12. Actually, the book, it's like the commentary, and the book itself is just these sutras, they're called.
Mhm.
Like, I don't know what's the equivalent of. Maybe there's something in Christianity. Like, it's not a prayer, but like there's one-liners kind of thing. Is there something like that in Christianity? What
Yeah,
is it
well,
called?
like especially with Catholicism, they have like, and then there's certain prayers that you
But
said, you said
they
it's not a prayer.
kind of explain a
Well, like
certain topic.
like the proverbs are kind of
Yeah,
like that.
I guess maybe it is a proverb. Yeah,
Yeah.
something like that. So it says, the proverb here, or the sutra, it says, samadhi is that accompanied by deliberation, or by reflection, or by bliss, or by sense of I. But basically, like, the whole book is how do you answer like the deeper questions of life. And the proverbs are super complicated to understand. That's why there's a commentary after each one of them. Because if he wrote it in those proverbs or one-liners, and people nowadays can't understand.
We should totally have an episode on the proverbs in the Bible because there's one. I think it's Proverbs 5, and
Yeah.
just saying proverbs made me think of it. It's like this is not what it's saying at all, but this is what I get from it. Proverbs 5 basically is like stay away from hoes.
Yeah. That's a simple one-liner. Yeah.
It's like really long. It's like but and I'm like I just broke it down. Like the simple way to say this is stay away from hoes. They'll ruin your life.
But nowadays even like what is a hoe? Like people will start like commenting and saying different things.
Yeah. Well, the verse wasn't even saying like a prostitute or anything. It was basically saying like certain type of woman that will basically tear you down to build herself up. And I'm like, well, that's not gender exclusive, but like it was like in the context of finding a mate too. And I was like, so Proverbs 5, stay away from hoes. And there's some funny because it's written like and it's translated into Greek and then to English. It's pretty funny, but it's deep but funny too if you're immature like me. Because it talks about like when you find a wife, stay with her and like go to her instead of like these women that are trying to entice you and stuff like that. And it's just the wording is hilarious. Go read Proverbs 5, people. It's funny.
We should do a whole Bible study type of
Yeah,
podcast.
I'd totally love to do that.
We should do that with every religious book.
Get my brother on because my brother just finished reading the Quran, or he's in the process of reading it. One of the two, I can't remember. All right, so I guess you just did one. So, gorilla mindset. This is. How would you? I don't know how to describe this one. I bought this one years ago. But how to control gorilla mindset. How to control your thoughts and emotions, improve your health and fitness, and make more money and live life on your terms. So this is the first book I bought when I decided, like, I'm gonna turn stuff around. Yeah, I'm gonna turn stuff around and gonna change my life. I bought this a long time ago, so I'll admit, like, when I bought this, I still wasn't ready, and I still wasn't making like solid. Like, I think in the last, how long have we even known each other? Like a year?
Yeah, not that long, but it feels much longer. We
Yeah.
had such long, deep conversations that it feels
Yeah.
like it
So
feels like I've known you for 10 years for some reason.
I've been trying in the last, yeah, I know, I get that. In the last, like since 2016, I've been like kind of like on and off trying, but like in the last year, it's like I've been serious about it. I turned it up a bit when I joined the military because I was like, you know what, I'm gonna fast track this. I'm gonna get disciplined. I'm gonna get fit, and the military is gonna help me do it. And then like all the things that like the same like Romeo Dallaire and stuff like that. I was like, I knew that I wasn't gonna join the UN or the UN peacekeepers, and I knew I wasn't gonna be a career soldier, which I wanted to be, but it was already stuff. And then the whole thing with my physical health. Um, the physical health thing, it's funny. I turned it up to 11 and then got hit down hard when I found out like my body is like literally like you can't do this and that. It took me long to get to the point where it's like I don't give a shit what my body says. I just swore anyway. I'm gonna do it. Like my mind and my soul are
You have to
stronger
leave
than
that for.
nah. Screw it. My determination, my body, my mind and my soul is much stronger. I don't care what my body says. I'm doing this. And then I met you and we started talking about like meditation and other things. So I'm like, you know, and I've been doing good. Down to like 250, working on 220.
This podcast is not going to be PG for much longer, I feel.
Well, yeah, well, like so.
And I feel like it's
I
going to be more real.
I went through genocide and I kept it pretty PG, but like we got like this is gonna get us in trouble. Like I don't think we have a big enough audience to get in trouble with this, but
it's written by the government, wasn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
This book is written by the government.
Like okay, well, War of the Flea, like anything but guerrilla warfare, like no, they're not gonna be happy about that. This covers every genocide ever committed, pretty much, from when we were just learning how to beat each other to death with rocks to nuclear weapons. So
56.
Oh, okay, 56. 50. Oh, that was cool. 55. 56. So often we talk to someone and feel like we're not being heard, like the person across from us is somewhere else. To make deeper connections, you want the person you're talking with to feel like the only person in the room. Use mindfulness techniques to stay engaged. When you feel distracted during a conversation, you can help yourself check in by using two powerful mantras. I use them regularly, especially when in a lull in a conversation. There's no place I'd rather be. There's no one else I'd rather see. When you tell yourself this, you begin to believe it. When you believe that there is nowhere else you'd rather be and no one else you'd rather see, the other person can feel it. You will make a deeper, longer lasting connections through this mindfulness technique. You can see mindfulness is not something woo-woo or new age. Mindfulness is a mindset. As you can see, mindfulness is not something woo-woo or new age. Mindfulness is a mindset technique you can apply in all areas of your life. Then it just asks you when did you last feel in the zone or in the flow? And then there's questions, and it tells you to like you can write in the book or you can like write it down on a piece of paper. There's like exercises to do. It's like it's some of it's
how
mine.
old is this book? When did you write it? Does
it might say it's probably before 2016, I think.
Copyright 2015.
Yeah.
2016. You highlighted something here. Eliminate feelings of frenzy and absent-mindedness. Develop quick, clear, and more focused thinking.
Oh yeah, so that's the things I wanted to get from this book. So that's like I didn't remember.
Oh. I think it's like one of the
I got tabs here too. You want me to just? Shh, damn, that sucks. Yeah, be more gentle with this tab. Better self-talk. So this is funny. That was something I really struggled with. I mentioned it in one of my Ruck Marches videos. So as you perform those self-talk exercises, you'll notice a surprising side effect. You'll start talking to your friends, family members, lovers, and others with more helpful, encouraging tone. After all, much of the negative energy you direct outwards originates within yourself. Yeah. Okay, yeah, so I highlighted this stuff because this was like I said, 2015 or 2016 when I got this. And embrace the suck. That is funny. I didn't realize that I heard this before the military. So because I bought this book in 2016, I joined the military in 2019. So that's funny because in training, the guy would have the megaphone. He's like, "Embrace the suck." So I wonder. Let's face it, sometimes life is going to be hard, and no amount of arguing or wishing it was otherwise will change that. When you go through hard times, and we all do, accept it and then embrace it. Go through embrace it. Army Rangers call this embrace the suck. So that's funny. It wasn't American Ranger, like it was Canadian infantry, but they were using the same thing. Um, Rangers go through rigorous training for 58 days, and they average less than 2 hours of sleep each night. Every day is worse than the last. Bodies ache and being to begin to break down. If they sat around complaining, they'd never get through it. Instead, they choose to embrace the suck, which allows them to endure and succeed. Something else I'll throw in there, since
That's a
you
good
brought it,
book.
since you brought it, military training and embracing the suck. I heard so it's funny from just training as a reservist in like Canadian military, like the infantry, like from that all the way to like I heard Navy SEALs talk about it too. Like when the worst parts are coming, just focus on like embracing the suck, but also the breaks. Like there's like you get fed, and like you do get sleep. Just focus on the like okay, I just gotta get through this for this much longer, and then I get to go eat, and then I don't know. Some people it doesn't help. Some people it makes it worse. I remember some people mentioning that makes it worse for them. They just can't. They just. But for me, it helped. It's like okay, I'm embracing this. This is what's gonna be happening to me for the next couple hours. There's no point in whining about it. Just focus on it, embrace it. But then I get to have food. I get a little rest. Like this isn't gonna last forever.
I remember biking through Canada having those points where like it's so hard, but like okay, there's a turn in the road there, and like the next like 7 turns like that in the roads, on the seventh one, that's when I'll stop. So you have like shorter goals like that because if you think about like, frick, I'm traveling across to Canada, this is gonna suck.
I
Shorter.
also add this. See, I knew this was gonna happen. Like we are gonna, but it's all good. Um, what I've noticed too with like dealing with addiction, the mindset where like if you go into the mindset like I'm just quitting, I'm never touching this ever again, you're setting yourself up for fail. I
Yeah.
found that I'm having more success with quitting drinking, with telling myself, okay, if you get this done, if you beat all these challenges, then you can have a couple beer.
Yeah,
And
that's
that is help. That is I'm having more success with that than I'm just never touching it again.
it's self awareness. I wasn't sure if I could like ever tell you that, mention to you that maybe do that, but because like if someone has a really bad
Mm-hmm.
addiction, like do you tell them to do? But no, just have a little, like, and in their mind right away they'll say like, oh, maybe I should have a little. I
And
didn't
I'm
I didn't know what to tell you, like how to approach that.
Yeah, no,
But it's
it's definitely a way better approach.
yeah.
Because something else I don't do now, and a lot of people that are dealing with addiction do this. When they cave, they beat themselves up, and then they get into a vicious cycle where like you cave, you're beating yourself up, you're bringing your like everything's coming down, you're feeling heavy, you're feeling like terrible, miserable, depressed, and you're more likely to go to that addiction to get that dopamine rush and that boost, right? So I find it a lot easier to control when I say, okay, this week I gotta finish this job. I gotta run this many miles, do this ruck march, do these many squats, and once I hit that, then I can have some beer. And last night I was falling behind, so I'm like, okay, I was sitting around doing nothing, and I was like, well, you're not having beer tonight unless you get all this stuff done. You're so close to being done. Get up off your butt and finish. So I finished, and I had a couple beer and light beer. The other thing that's helping me quit alcohol too is it makes you fat, and I'm trying to get fit. So I'll have like two, right? And I'm like, okay, that's this many calories. Did you do enough
Yeah, did
to
you
earn
burn
that
enough?
many calories? To burn, yeah, like so that's helping a lot. Because before, I don't
You
like
just feel bad about it,
I
or
don't
like
like calling myself an alcoholic. I feel like but like I recognize a lot of the things I would do is like, oh, that's what an alcoholic does. Before I would just drink, and I would once I start and I'd feel that buzz, like I gotta keep going. As soon as my brain's like, oh wait, you're coming down, you're starting to feel emotions again. Go drink more. Um, I find with all these exercises, what I'm doing, it's making it a lot easier than just don't touch it.
I feel like this should be a big part of the groups that we gather for rock marches. Like maybe like I really want to help people who, like we should help people with that kind of mindset, like
Mm-hmm.
changing that mindset because people might be like hiding all of that, you know,
Well, yeah,
like those
that was
addictions and everything. Like,
yeah,
and
like
there's
that's the
hundreds of
shame,
other, yeah,
the shame
there's,
of it, like right, like that. Once I realized, like once I started admitting it to I started admitting it to myself, then I started admitting it to friends and family, and it also helps if you have good friends and family around.
yeah.
Like
But
none of my,
that's why we should help people. Like, we could be
yeah,
good friends.
not like some people don't have this still. Like
Yeah.
yeah, to your point, like we should be those people because some people don't have it. Like I don't know why I was worried. Like I know my family and friends better than that, but when I came out and said it, I got support. They're like, oh, okay, and like another thing, like if you have a friend or family member that's dealing with addiction, when they cave, do not like the worst thing you can do is start coming down on them because they're already doing that. What my wife does, and it's amazing. It really helps. Is instead of being like, "Oh my God, Jordan, I can't believe you did this again," or "Why do you have that?" or "Why?" It's just, "Are you okay? What are you going through? What happened? What made you feel like you had to drink? Let's talk about that."
Yeah, it leaves space for conversations
And
instead of
she also doesn't
shutting
pry
it
too,
down.
though. So like if I'm coming home and I have beer and she's like, "Well, why?" Or like, "What happened?" If
Just
I
give
don't
you
want
that
to talk about it
space.
yet, she'll be like, "Okay." So
And then that's also how men and women are different. Like, guys don't necessarily want to talk about
yeah,
things. Like,
yeah.
it's pretty
It's
normal.
it's funny too, like listening to like all the women in my life that are like trying to like, nah, I'm like, not right now. I don't feel like talking about it.
Yeah, like
Well, you never feel like talking about it. Like, well,
something. I don't know if it's pride or whatever. I think it's still in our nature to kind of be with it longer than maybe women. Like, women tend to talk about it. They actually need to talk about it more than men.
I don't know. Maybe like I might offend people or like say this wrong, but like not all men, but I find a lot of men like they also know that or think that talking about it is a waste of time. Like talking is a waste of time. Just do, right? At least I have that mindset. And sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. But for me, talk is work like pointless. Like no, I'm just not. I'm not going to talk about this. I'm just going to do it.
I think it's important to talk, but someone says like don't talk slow, don't talk too much. There's some one liner from like a 1950s guy who like said something very like talk low, talk slow, and don't talk too much. I think that's how he said it.
Or just be like, bottle it all in and then die. Be a man.
Yeah, man. I think talking is important, but like sometimes yeah, you can talk too much about it. Next book,
Okay.
Viktor Frankl, Men's Search for a Meaning. This guy is a Jewish psychiatrist. I don't know if he's alive still.
Oh,
He might be
no.
like in his 90s something. You have to check. I need to check. But he wrote an amazing book that 1 million, like it says on the book. I bought it a while ago. 12 million copies sold.
Yeah.
Like most people will probably know this book if they have
It's
not
a
even.
very well known book, yeah.
Yeah. If basically he survived a concentration camp and in like such a how do you even say that? Like in the positive state, in the positive mindset, survived the concentration camp. It's a
Yeah.
crazy thing to say.
Well, yeah, that reminds me too. I remember a stat I heard like about mental health and stuff. Like concentration camps that the Nazis were operating, the gulags in Russia and stuff like that, they had a lower suicide rate. Like slaves in America had a lower suicide rate than a lot of young people, like young group people or groups of young people, like different demographics. I'm like, well, what what changed? Like it's not like they have it a lot easier now. We have it a lot easier now, but less hope. Like that's probably what it is. It's hope. Like these people are like, I'm gonna get through this and I'm gonna keep living. I don't know. I just remember thinking that hearing that statistic was like I gotta figure this out somehow. Like I want to learn. Like
Yeah, but I don't know if,
but
how
like
much.
mindset too. Like
But I think his mindset was unique, and that's why reading this book is, and that's why it is being read by so many people because it's so different. Like, how do you go through such a negative? Like, you can't even like. What's the word to describe a concentration camp? Like, it's a horrible,
yeah.
the most ridiculous
From
thing
what
that
I've
human.
learned about concentration camps and gulags and stuff, it's like I don't think there's anything worse that humans
Yeah,
have
like
conceived
I
of
can't even
or to put
imagine
other people
like
through.
yeah, and him going through that and still having some compassion towards the guys the guards that were working in controlling them still having some compassion towards them.
Yeah.
It's a crazy.
Well, I've even heard stories of like the prisoners becoming monsters to other prisoners too. Side note, not related, well, kind of related, but what does gulag mean?
Gulag.
What does that word mean?
I'll need to look it up, and then we'll have like a proper translation of it.
Okay.
Tell me a number, page number.
88.
88. I'll just read a short paragraph. Oh, maybe this one. Psychologically, what was happening to the liberated prisoners could be called depersonalization. Everything appeared unreal, unlikely as in a dream. Just a crazy thing.
Related to this.
We could not believe it was true. How often in the past years had we been deceived by dreams? We dreamed that the day of liberation had come, that we had been set free, had returned home, greeted our friends, embraced our wives, sat down at the table, and started to tell of all the things we had gone through, even how we had often seen the day of liberation in our dreams. And then a whistle shrilled in our ears at the signal to get up, and our dreams of freedom came to an end. And now the dream had come true, but could we truly believe in it? It's so crazy how like down they were feeling that it made them like this, like, you know how like the gates would open, like another soldier would carry them out, and then like, is this true? Am I dreaming? Like, I just can't imagine how they went through it. It's crazy. What's the next book?
Okay, so what are we at here? I want to focus on the ones we've actually read. Okay, you got a whole bunch here. I think you should do 2.
Why? Just go through,
because I haven't fully finished these.
That's fine.
Okay.
Just I can tell you, read maybe the contents a little bit, or
Okay, so this one is his newest one, Jonathan Livingstone Smith. What was his? I can't remember the one before this one. This one was just released. When was this released? I remember pre-ordering this after finishing his last one.
Wait, who's the author?
Jonathan Livingstone Smith. I listened to some of his lectures too. Very, very tough to listen to stuff. Like, honestly, if you don't have a strong, maybe this is the wrong way of putting it, but you don't have a strong mind where like you can hear people doing the worst things imaginable and not letting your heart get full of hate. Like, so when I was reading The Rape of Nanking, sometimes my mind would wander there, but I was like, no, this has already happened. This is done. My mind would be like, well, F the Imperial Japanese. Like, I was getting so mad. I was like, you know what? These people are all dead. Like, the people living in Japan today are not these people.
Yeah.
Because I've noticed a lot of people, like in the woke crowd, they'll hear about horrible things that white people have done, and then they'll internalize that and send that hate to people that had nothing to do with it. Like, I don't get it. But this is really hard to read if you're that type of person, a very emotional person. This, like I said, it goes from genocide of people that we've never even heard of, all the way to like the most recent stuff in the 20th century. But it not just talks about genocide. It talks about it's called Making Monsters. This one focuses on like propaganda and stuff, like how people's minds, like how like when they talk about like with Germany, like how it was their neighbors that were turning on, like people that their kids played with their kids. They went to barbecues together, and all of a sudden it's like these people are monsters or pests. We need to get rid of them. So it talks about like how that mindset changes, and like the tactics and stuff like that. And I think that's important, especially now. Well, it's always been important to see, recognize, like learn to recognize it. Like that goes for everybody, like woke, non-woke, like right. Our mind, like there's.
Especially now with AI technology, it's going to be more and more difficult.
I know this is a cliche and it's like InfoWars stuff, but there's been a war for our minds. Like it's always been.
That's the war, I think, right now.
Yeah.
The biggest war.
And I think no matter what group you identify with or whatever you're in, like religion or country or woke, not woke, right, left, like whatever, you're all being manipulated. You're all being like we all are. And some like. I don't think I'm some kind of amazing arbiter of truth or anything. Like, I recognize it sometimes when I'm being played. And I have to do a lot of like
That's
self-searching and stuff.
that's why I think either religion or something like very fundamental is important, because if there's something that brings you back to like we all want the same things. We
Yeah,
all want to be
but
healthy.
this talks about too like how like it can be used for good or bad. Like
Yeah.
if you so with Christianity, for me, whenever I start hearing like the BS propaganda from people about like, oh, this group of people is bad or this people isn't, they're not deserving of forgiveness. Like, Jesus died for all of them, right? Regardless if you believe that or not, like the religion says that Jesus loved these people just as much as he loved you. It doesn't matter the color of skin or what, like the woke, if they're woke, because there's a lot I've been seeing a lot of blasphemous stuff going on in the woke crowd, like especially with drag queens and churches and stuff like that. There was one that was called Miss Pentecost. I was like, holy blasphemy, holy crap, that's insane. And they were going through the church wearing a freaking thong, like this man's butt, like modesties for men and women in the church, right? And his butt was completely visible. Children sitting all around him, like so. When I'm seeing that, it's very easy to start getting angry, and when you let anger in, you start letting hatred in. It's like, okay, now I'm being a bad Christian.
But then
So like what
what?
you're saying, like the grounding part.
Yeah. What if there's a tribal person who it's in their culture to just wear a leaf over their uh, general area, and they walk into a church? To us, it's like that wouldn't be a problem.
But yeah, no, it's not. And
But
like, but it's the context of the
yes,
thing too, right?
that's what I'm telling. Like
Yeah.
there's a clear intention to fuck
Yeah.
with the
With
system.
the drag queen thing with the like that is intentional.
Yeah.
That is like F you guys.
Yeah, like why do that? It's
Yeah.
just a clear a
It
bad
has,
intention.
yeah, it has to do with like the context and the intention.
If you want to
behind
do
it.
that at a club at midnight somewhere,
naming
do it.
the drag queen that named themselves Miss Pentecost, they were intentional. They knew exactly what they were doing with that.
Yeah, that's the difference.
Yeah.
What else did you want to say? I think I.
Oh yeah, so
interrupted you
like
so
so I brought like I didn't fully finish.
Can you read the titles of the contents?
Yeah.
And then maybe.
I highly
random
recommend
page.
his, if I can remember the name, his first book. Can't recommend this one yet because I didn't read it yet, but I like his work. I've listened to his, like I said, I listened to his lectures. Um, Chapter 1, what is dehumanization?
Do you ever
Okay.
do that? I grab a book and read the contents, and then it's like, oh, this is not gonna be interesting.
I'm actually, now that we've been talking, I want to go read this now. So, Chapter 1, what is dehumanization? Chapter 2, dehumanization is real. In the blood, that sounds interesting. Essential differences, logic of race, hierarchy, order of things, being human, ideology, dehumanization. Excuse me. Dehumanization as an ideology, ambivalence, making monsters, last words, and loose ends.
Page 206.
Page 206.
I bet there's 300 pages in that book.
Yeah, you're. That was weird. It's like 300 exactly. Oh. 206. That's funny. It's 206 is chapter 11, the first page of chapter 11, ambivalence. As I write these words, I'm sitting on the deck overlooking acres of woodland behind my New England home. Two handsome red-tailed hawks have taken up residence in a tall tree, and every once in a while I see one swooping down to pick up some helpless mammal in its talons, squirrel, chipmunk, or a vole. Carrying it to its perch, nature's metal. uh, tearing a still living creature to shreds and gorging on its flesh. Closer to me, I see dragonflies flying over the yard. It's a beautiful spectacle, but I know that these aerial acrobats are ferocious predators, tiny killing machines on the prowl for mosquitoes and other insects to devour. And many of the mosquitoes that the dragonflies eat are fat with blood drawn from deer that roam in the woods. Closer still, a team of tiny ants drag a withering caterpillar across the decking boards by my feet. They will carry it to their nest and consume it alive. The natural world is anything but harmonious. Yeah. It is a wonderful and terrible place where life insistently feeds upon life. Many animals depend on flesh of others, and even the gentle herbivore dismembers and devours plants. If plants could scream, their cries would be unrelenting. Some creatures have worked out cooperative relationships with their prey. Fruit eaters are paid in calories for the job of spreading seeds, but for most, the rest of their existence demands destruction. That is why author ooh so some Scandinavian name. I'm not even gonna try.
Pronounce.
Nah,
So
nah.
I
Something hair of our describe nature as a playground. If you want to know this person's name, you got to buy this book. Describe nature as a playground of torture and anguish. Ridden beings that endure only by eating one another, where consequently every vicious animal is living grave of thousands. So that's just one page. Like, and you know what?
I want to read this book now.
That was extremely tame. That was nothing. Most pages are like, oh my god, existence is terrible. But it's no like this book. It puts a lot in perspective. If you're feeling like if you're doing a lot of complaining and whining about your life, pick up one of these books. It's delivery guy.
Which book did you start with?
Where is it? Did I put it down here?
No, here. You started with this one, right?
Yes.
I'm just gonna take pictures for the clips of every book before I forget.
So while you're doing that, I'll do some honorable mentions because I don't have a physical copy of them yet. And then one of them was mentioned to me by a friend. I asked him to mention some books. So I'll talk about his first. He talked about the Zombie Survival Guide, and he brought up that for people that aren't into prepping or survival or anything like that, it's a very good starting point. He said like it's good for like he used the term normies, but even if you're like if you just want to get into it, he said it's a good place to start. It's easy to read, it's fun, like entertaining. I've been wanting to check it out, even though like I'm more like I would consider myself not advanced, but definitely in the middle when it comes to prepping and survival. Like there's still a lot I can learn. There's some things I've gotten down pretty well. Like I've made a lot of those early mistakes with prepping, especially when it comes to using plastic to seal a lot of my stuff instead of Mylar.
Did you go through this book or no?
I have no. I'm saving that one. We might because I'm excited. This is one of the books where Vitaly brought it, and I was like, "Is that one of the ones I lent you?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Awesome," because I want to read this. Because it's funny, as someone who does a lot of tracking of animals, I want to learn how to not like be harder to track myself. Like I like the idea of being hard to kill, and for most people, I like to put it in the context of be hard for cancer to kill, be hard for heart disease to kill. Not a lot of people are in the mindset of be hard for other people. Like if they're trying to kill you, be hard, make it hard for them. Because a lot of people don't think like that. Maybe it's out of balance that I think like that a lot. I don't know. Do you agree that it's out of balance?
I agree. Yeah.
It's out of balance?
Yeah.
Okay. We can talk about that more. But where was I going with that? Anyway, so I brought up the Zombie Survival Guide because it's a good starting point for some people. On Violence is the name of the book. I gotta remember the author. I'll mention it again later. But no, Tim Larkin. On Violence by Tim Larkin. That's really good. Talk about putting things in perspective and being balanced when it comes to violence and that mindset. It's like it's really good. If you're an aggressive, violent person that likes fighting, you need to read this book because you need to get grounded, like balanced. And then the other one was Fry the Brain. Forgot the name of the author, but it's on like something like this, guerrilla warfare stuff. But yeah, so Meditations, fantastic book. Or
did you read
what
it
would you
fully?
call that? Because it's taught by Marcus Aurelius.
Yeah. That's what the word means. Meditation is to contemplate on something.
Yeah.
I actually did a post today on. Do I have a sparkle? I keep seeing sparkle like a what is it called? My girls constantly play with those like glitter things.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I have a glitter right there. There's nothing there.
No.
Yeah. I was just doing a post today about how the word meditation means so many things.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Meditations, Marcus Aurelius. Lots of people probably know this book already. It's almost probably as popular as Viktor Frankl?
Yes and no. I feel like not enough people read
Really?
it. I feel like, well, people may know about it, but not read anything from it. I think it's very under like value. Like, I find like in one of my ruck marches, I talk about the Bible and meditations. They're both free.
Yeah.
You don't need to buy. You can find them anywhere, and they will both change you, like for the better mentally. You don't even necessarily have to agree or believe everything in both of them. They're some of the most beneficial reading you can do.
I remember going into chapters and seeing this one for sale and another book for sale, and I grabbed like 10 of them.
Yeah,
Give
so
away
these are the
most of them.
chapters. These are the like I can tell by this cover. Chapters will have a deal where they have all these classic books. That's where I have Crime and Punishment. All
I
the
did
like
not read that one.
what was the other Russian ones I had? There was like Crime and Punishment, and then
Dostoevsky's
Yeah, I can't even say his name. Dostoevsky and Tolstoy or
Tolstoy.
Tolstoy. Um, and
Tolstoy's the last books he wrote. Those are the best ones to read, I think.
Yeah.
Because I remember him saying like, oh, all these authors, including me, are writing all this like thick books, including what's his most famous one, the War and Peace.
Yeah.
He's like, we wrote big, like
because it was before
because it was
radio,
popular.
so,
No,
yeah.
because it was like it was selling. People wanted to buy big thick books.
Yeah.
That's what he said like in later stages of his life.
Yeah.
So like I wanted to know more of his thoughts. So I have a book in Russian of him saying like what he learned in life.
Yeah.
That's a good book.
So we went from these giant books down to 30-second clips on TikTok. That's where we're at now. I mean,
it works. That's
so I know you're viewing it as like, oh, I don't see anyone better than the other, but some people were like, I don't know. It's just that old people thing. Like, do you remember me telling you that thing I read about an article that was written about books, about how books are going to make young people stupid and lazy?
Oh, right.
Like the argument that old people are like, oh, video games are going to make people, or TV is going to make kids stupid and lazy. They probably did the radio first, then TV, then video games, and now social media. It's like they made that argument with books. Like when the printing press came.
People probably do that with podcasts, but so much you can learn so much in podcasts.
I've learned more from podcasts than I ever did in school.
I think at this stage, I prefer actually to listen to an author talking 3 hours on a podcast than reading his book. Like I know the book will go deeper, but I feel like I want to know who the person is.
I like what David Goggins did with his books. I want more people to do that.
Yeah.
Where like there's somebody reading the books, but they'll pause and talk about that chapter or talk about that part.
I kind of also feel like from like an environmental standpoint, I feel like a podcast is better for the earth. But I like physical books.
Yeah.
But to your point, like I just wanted to make clips so that people, especially TikTok, I feel like TikTok is the one that's like more popular for our clips.
Mm-hmm.
And like if people get a book they have never seen, they'll actually read. So making it a fun clip of the contents, how the book is written, and maybe they'll read the book and they'll explore the depth of it. Because otherwise we can talk hours about every book, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, like where's the one I started with? I could talk all day about this book. And then like all about the Rwandan genocide. And
let me read a page from this one.
It was the same. Oh, yeah.
Or, what is it? Tell me a number. From to 150.
1 to 50?
Yeah.
34. Oh, wow, that was the first one that popped in my head.
34. If thou workest. I can't read this. This is the book where like it should be read not out loud. What's the...
Yeah, when you read it in your head, it's easier.
Yeah, I can't read this type of English. If thou workest at that which is before thee, following right reasons seriously, vigorously, calmly, without allowing anything else to distract thee, but keeping thy divine part pure. I love this book so much. It's like this is my favorite book. As if thou shouldst? How do you read that out loud? I don't know. I know how to read it inside my head.
I've been trying for years just to read the Divine Comedy, so like I'm not the person to ask.
If thou shouldst be bound to give it back immediately. If thou does it mean holdest? If thou holdest?
Let me try.
If thou hold to this, expecting nothing, fearing nothing, but satisfied with thy present activity according to nature, and with heroic truth in every word and sound which thou utterest, I'm so illiterate. I think we're both so illiterate.
We need to read more.
that but we read so much books. There's so many books.
Well, it's because it's so much easier to read. Like we keep bringing this up because it's so true. It's easier to read it in your head. Like,
That will live happy.
I'll tell you.
And there is no man who is able to prevent this.
I'll tell you a story. I think part of me wants to tell this story because the teacher's probably dead now. She was super old when she did this to me, but I remember being shamed in my class because there was these Star Wars books, these big chapter Star Wars books that I was reading in grade 4. And it was, how our school was, we went from kindergarten to like grade 8. In the library, like they had certain sections, but I kept going to the grade 8 section because I wanted to read these Star Wars books. And in my mind, I still to this day remember the stories. Okay, so I was getting it, but this freaking horrible witch of a woman. It's part of the reason why I have so much. There's several reasons why I don't like public school, but what happened to me in public school there is a big thing. So anyway, she grabs a book out of my hand and says, "Read this out loud," and the whole class is there. So I'm like, stuttering, and she's like, "No, you can't read this." She puts it back on the shelf. Go over there and read. I'm like, all I wanted to do was read. Like at that time, like I'd just sit and read. Like I would get in trouble because I would have my book on my desk. It was usually Pokemon, and I'd read it like that.
You can learn a lot from Pokemon.
Yeah, well, it was
There's a lot of lessons in there.
Friggin' go listen to the opening theme songs for every season of Pokemon. Like, if you just like the morals and values just in the theme song, if you just taught this to your kids, like they would be set. It's all about like teamwork and working hard, and being a good person, and like not giving up. Is like
Jesus' lessons weren't that complicated either.
Yeah, and it's funny because Christians and Muslims really hated Pokemon when it came out, and I was like, these are the values and stuff you're trying to teach your kids.
Yeah. It's just, is it too fast paced for them, or like there's like some fighting or whatever?
It's that thing, like, well, no, for the Muslim argument was insane. It had to do that it was Jewish propaganda, so I don't know where they were getting that from. And I know there's probably some Muslims like, shut up, you're wrong. But I remember reading something about like a lot of Muslim countries like, nah, this is just Jewish nonsense. And then for Christians, it was like, some of them would be like, okay, it's too violent. And then other ones would make like all these, it's using symbols from the occult and there's ghosts and all this stuff. Like, you know, like that stuff doesn't exist in Christianity.
I wish more people would realize how like, maybe our book is ridiculous in some ways. Like, just don't take it too seriously. Live by it. You can live by the book, but still don't take it too seriously. Do you know the
quote? If you do, like, I can't remember who it was, but it's like, the sign of an intelligent mind is able to entertain a thought without accepting it.
Oh, was it Sam Harris?
No, it was like an older. I don't think it was like Plato. It was some philosopher, but, like for an example, the QAnon thing. Dear God, that was insane. And I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. Cause I bring it up because I heard somebody today still believes this. And I was listening to them. And I was trying to be polite and think, but all I could think about was, dear God, people still believe this? And it's actually really sad because when I listen to what they're saying, it's all based on like everything. Like they recognize that everything is shit. And they're really clinging on to some like crazy stuff because they want to hope like, it's tricking their mind like, okay, things aren't actually that bad. It just looks bad on the surface, but really deep down, things are going to be okay. So part of me is like, oh my God, this is insane. The other part's like, this is sad. Just listening to because it was all based in like hopium. And I was like, but anyway, I entertain it and I was smiling and nodding. I was like, okay, I can see where they kind of connect that. And then there's other things like I can't even connect that, but sure. But no, that's not a good example, but of that quote, but like a better example is when you and I talk about things like aliens and reincarnation and stuff like that. Is like I can I can entertain and think and like, yeah, I can see how that works. I see where he's getting that from. But personally, I'm like, no, but I don't believe that. That's a better example of that.
This is the book of Sadhguru. He says like there's a lot we believe like we can believe a lot of things, but if as long as you keep like a little like thought in the back of your head like this is just a belief. It might be not true, but it's okay to believe in that. You know?
Well, that's why like I when I talk to people about Christianity and stuff in the Bible, it was like maybe you don't think that's how it happened or you don't believe that or whatever, but there's still value in this. Like there's still a lot of value. Like You can entertain thoughts without accepting them, and you can get the value from it. Like, I don't know.
What's the next book?
I don't know
Did you
much.
read a
But
lot of it?
no, you brought you. But I bought this and then lent it to you.
And I didn't read much of it. Like I skipped through all of parts.
So like it's technically my book, but you know more about it than me. So
should we do the same thing? Go through the contents at least,
yeah,
since it's here.
yeah.
Where are they? Oh man, these are a lot of content.
So I bought this on it. This was an impulse buy. I just saw the cover. It's like anti-tracking, hiding in the shadows, becoming an illusion of invisibility. I was like, that sounds awesome. I like that. Like I said, like tracking animals and stuff like that. I'm like, how do I make it? Whoa, table of contents is very interesting.
Read it.
I'm excited to read this. Okay, so history and brief. What that? Let me start over. In a minute. Okay. History and brief overview. Early historic examples of anti-tracking. Sand of the Kalahari Desert.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Trackers in the Bible. That's interesting. Ninjas of Japan. I like those. I like both those things. Native Americans. Love that. The Rangers of the French Indian Wars. African American runaway slaves. World War II. European escape routes. And World War II in the Pacific escape missions. Vietnam War. Afghanistan. American and Mexican border. Interesting.
I didn't read through a lot.
That is interesting. So they're going to cover like people coming into America, like how they cover their track. That's interesting. Anti-tracking overview, self-care for better tracking and anti-tracking skills. What makes objects visible? I think there's more. Oh my god, I'm super excited about this book. Chapter 2, modern technology. Wait, what? Everything I just said was just chapter 1.
I felt like it's the same topics. It's just like he was basing examples of.
Yeah, chapter 2, modern technology. Chapter 3, I'm just gonna to save time. I'm gonna so modern technology. Chapter 3, anti-tracking by individual preparations and responsibilities. Chapter 4, anti-tracking by unsensing yourself. Interesting. Chapter 5, anti-tracking coordination and support. Chapter 6, anti-tracking by trick or treat techniques. Interesting. Anti-tracking by movement. I want to read this book right now. It's like, let's stop the podcast. Night vision and movement. Oh, wow. So, yeah, this is interesting. I'm excited.
I almost didn't bring this book because I still wanted to finish it. But
okay, yeah, you finish it and then
I'm not going to read it right now.
Okay.
You're super excited about it. I'll just buy it.
Yeah, I'm probably going to rip through this tonight and then you can borrow it again. Okay, so pick a page. Or is there something in the table of contents that you want me to read about?
Do you want to read something?
I kind of want to read about that, the border thing. So that was...
That's a very childish question, you know? Like, that's how kids ask a question. Pick this. Mommy, pick this. Unless if you want me to pick it.
Where was it? Okay, the Mexican border. 16.
Oh, right, that.
Well, no, because...
How old is the book, though? I feel like a lot of things.
Well, because I was about to bring that up too. So something that people do not understand, what's going on with the Mexican-American border. On the surface, we just think, okay, people searching for a better life. If you look at it like an iceberg, right? Like the deeper it goes, the crazier it gets. So yeah, there's also like the sex, human trafficking stuff, the drug trafficking, but there's even like the Taliban. ISIS at one point, China, Russia, they've got training bases down there. And they've got militias all through South America training and stuff like that. And they get spies in and out through there. Like, there's so much crazy stuff going on there. I don't even know what level ISIS still operates on. But not too long ago, there was, even in the United States, I think it was in Texas, there was like an ISIS training facility. And the only reason it got on people's radar is because somebody went missing and died on the facility, on the compound. So yeah, let's take a look at the U.S. home front. Along our porous border, this is an area where most Americans are obvious and in denial. being too politically correct. Yeah, see, that's the biggest problem right there. Is like, but talking about the iceberg thing, you can't talk about all the other stuff because there's stupid. There's no nicer way of putting it. There's annoying people that are not serious people that as soon as a topic comes up, they immediately latch onto one thing and they won't shut up about it. So when you bring up the board, it's like, oh, they're just looking for a better life, and you hate Mexicans, you're racist, you hate children. I'm like, dude, shut up. Let's have a serious conversation
It's
about
because
this.
the freaking news, they like take topics.
Well, that
and they
like
make
I said, like I said in the last one, a litmus test. If someone's not a serious person, like honestly, like I don't like writing people off. Like I think there's hope for everybody, but at that point, just don't talk to them about that stuff. Like they're just dumb. Work like try to help them become a smarter person. Then you can talk about that stuff.
Deep zombification. Are we still recording?
I see the red bar.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
So, people are obviously in denial. Being too politically correct about what's going on is not. It's not happening in my state. Why should I care? But this border, like Israel's border, is involved in low-intensity warfare. Having tracked in 6 continents, I've learned that and experienced anti-tracking techniques, tactics, and procedures at the tactical unit level. In many other countries, I've directly and indirectly learned that experience these anti-tracking TTPS used by the military and by human drug and weapon smugglers. That's what I was mentioning too. Like it goes, people looking for a better life, drug traffickers, sex traffickers, arms dealers, foreign spies, terrorist cells. But oh, we gotta keep it open. There's poor people trying, and like what's crazy too is now Canada. There's been a lot of talk about this. Is that a lot of people from South America are going straight through. I don't think we're like drug trafficking and human trafficking. Yeah, big deal. I'm not too concerned about spies or terror cells getting into Canada because Trudeau would just invite them anyway. He's sold out to China anyway, so they wouldn't need to come through Mexico. They just come on a plane and Trudeau would shake their hand and give them a 5-star accommodations. So that's a whole other problem.
Did you see that Trudeau book that was written for kids? How our leader... No, like an actual good book.
Oh, okay. I thought it was like some kind of propaganda how Trudeau's so amazing.
No, it's the reverse.
Kids. Okay.
We should have had that book. I love this podcast. We should
talk about books more. Well, I said this is probably going to become like several parts, or like a series or something. Because there's more books that, like I said, I want to get Fry the Brain, and I want to get a physical copy of On Violence by Tim Larkin. That's fantastic. Everybody needs to read that, especially the bros that are like, "Oh, you don't know me, man. When things hit the fan, I just see red and bodies just start falling." Like they need to read that book and get a reality check.
Yeah. I just had an idea that whenever we'll have like a guest, they should bring like 3-4 books. If it's like in person, not like live on interview. Their favorite 3 books.
The United States is facing a difficult economic struggle. There are individuals still waiting to forsake all to come to. What the hell? This is written funny.
I think we're both like half dyslexic.
Yeah, well, I'm not half. I'm just. I start reading words in my brain. Just like I hate it with spelling too. I have to write it down because if I try to spell it out loud, all the right letters are there, but wrong order. And I think someone was telling me that's dyslexia. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I guess that's what it is. I've never been diagnosed with anything, but...
You know who apparently is also dyslexic? Tom Cruise.
Yeah. Okay, a whole episode. Yeah. We almost made it through an episode without bringing up Tom Cruise or Top Gun or...
You know what my favorite quote of his lately that I've seen on like behind the scenes making the latest Mission Impossible? He's about to jump on a motorcycle and then open the parachute, like for reals, off a cliff on a ramp. They build this humongous ramp and he's riding the motorcycle, jumps, and then the motorcycle crashes, but they actually catch it. But in the movie, like you'll think that the motorcycle crashed, and then he opens up a parachute. And before doing that, he goes, "Don't be careful, be competent." How good is that? How good is that, Mike? I didn't read this book. No, I actually read some of it. I think it's a theme. I think that's how I read books. I don't read fully. But this guy, it's a good book. He's on, do you know the Impulsive podcast, Logan Paul?
No, I heard of
The
it.
brothers. The
Yeah,
Paul
yeah, I know
brothers,
who they are.
pretty big podcast for especially like culturally, I don't know, like
I don't know.
15-year-olds to 35-year-olds.
I don't like them, but
The who? Logan Paul?
yeah, like so I was starting to warm up with some of the stuff, but then I like mentioning the podcast. So this is like I don't know, maybe this is
No,
just
I
me.
don't agree with a bunch of things.
Well, no, like one thing that really pissed me off, like same thing with like so with Andrew Tate when everyone was going on about him, and then I learned about him. I was like, this guy's garbage, and it's I don't think he's garbage for all the reasons that people think he's garbage. Like some of the stuff he says is pretty good. I hated the whole webcam thing, so it's the same thing with the Paul brothers. Their audience is young men mostly, and they were bringing on porn stars. And I'm like, okay, normalizing porn, that's great for a bunch of young men. Like that's not destroying their brain at all. And I don't even know the full context, but I just know he brings on porn stars and normalizes it. It makes it seem like a normal, cool thing.
I don't know if they do that because I listen to some podcasts just to like know what it's about. Like I follow them and I follow that podcast. Like sometimes they have good people. Otherwise, like yeah, I won't be able to like be interested in every podcast that they put out. But I don't know if they normalize it. But there's definitely like
I like
not
personally, I think there's tons of evidence to this. So it's not even just my personal belief, but there's a crisis with young men. Actually, young women too. There's a crisis with young people right now. And one of the things that is not helping both young men and young women is pornography. And so that's why when I was hearing some of the stuff, when I first heard about Andrew Tate and everyone was going on and on about it, I started seeing some of his stuff and I was like, oh, that's interesting. I think I remember telling you, like, oh, look what he said here. This is interesting. Then I found out him and his brother made their freaking money off of running camgirl websites. So like, screw this guy. This guy's garbage. And same thing with like so Logan Paul. Like I know that they had a lot of ups and downs and stuff with like they started very young. They were kids, right? So I saw a lot of the up and down stuff, and I was coming around, and then I was like, come on, like they're not helping young people. And they don't. I don't think. And sorry, don't. I just gotta say this too. It's like I don't think it's like their job or anything. Like if you don't, they just you just want to have fun and stuff like that. Fine, but like I don't.
That's what they're doing.
Yeah, like whatever. But like the reason why I'm like not interested in anything they have to say is because normalizing pornography, I think, is detrimental. Like, I think it's a huge problem.
I agree 100% with you that it's a huge problem, but I also like part of the like not censoring and having conversations. That's why like it's good that they had that conversation with whatever porn star that they had on. Like, it's like, do you just completely not go in that direction and not have a conversation with them? Like Jesus did. Jesus had a conversation with a prostitute.
Yeah. But he was,
Logan Paul is not Jesus.
Yeah, no, but he's also not saying like go forth and sin no more. Like,
but that's the thing. But that's why they have. It's not just his podcast. There's like
see people.
His friend there told like pretty much.
People forget that too. Like I'm not saying that's what you're doing, but a lot of people are like, oh well, Jesus hung out with these people, and he's like, it wasn't just like hanging out. Like let's be buddies. It was him like like go forth and sin no more. It was like what you're doing is bad. But you're still you're a person. You're good. You can be a good person.
But that's why I brought Jesus up, and I know you probably hate people bringing him up like that, but it's just a conversation to me. That's what like, and it's not. And I think because it was like balanced by other people in the podcast,
I don't know too much either. This is me. This whole thing. My opinion on this is just coming from a clip I saw. So I'm not being too fair. I can admit that. However, like. What I saw was them normalizing it and making it like whatever. Like it's a huge problem for a lot of young people. From young men being addicted to it, and then all the problems come with that, to young women thinking like that's their only thing they have to offer or the only value they have, and it's crazy. It's a big, deep rabbit hole too. But
well, the big rabbit hole too is like what he talks about in this book, and from what I've seen, it helped a lot of people. My brother read this book.
I just clued him. We got onto all of that just from because.
But the what is it? Opiates. Like, yeah, the problem of that, and that's what he talks in this book. How he overcame that addiction.
Yep.
So
well, that's good because a lot of people are dying.
And a lot of people benefited from this book.
That's good. That's awesome.
I don't know
so now I just seem like an ass now. It's like screw those guys. They may have helped a whole bunch of people with fentanyl and opiates, but they had porn stars on, so I'm writing them off. Like, oh, that's not what I'm saying.
I know
Maybe it sounded like that's what I was saying.
it's just off-putting to you to
Yeah.
listen to that kind of conversation when it's like.
But I should have.
Should we promote that?
I just jumped to that, not letting you finish, and then you just like, oh yeah, okay. At least porn doesn't kill you. Opiates do. So.
I mean, maybe porn will lead to opiates, and then it'll kill you. So
Yeah.
who knows those chain of events things.
Yeah.
Jesus. Speaking of Jesus.
Jesus in the Essene. So what was the one I read? It wasn't Dolores Cannon's one.
No, it wasn't?
No, it was one
man.
that Emily gave it to me to read.
Right. You needed to start with this one. This is such a good book.
You kept saying that, but I was like, but I have this one in my hand. And it's, so that, what was it?
It was similar, like, it was a woman, again, like,
But
for
do you remember
Christians.
the title?
No.
Because that was one of the few books, it takes me a long time to read, whether because I'm busy or my brain just can't focus. I sat there and read it every morning until I finished it, and I gave it back to
that book I didn't read, but like completely again. But this one, this is one of my
all-time
top
favorites.
5. Yeah, probably like very, very.
It's very, very popular when I search up scenes or anything like that. So Dolores Cannon, yeah.
But again, for Christians who don't believe in past lives, I kind of suggest to still read it and think of like maybe we don't know what past lives are.
That's what I was saying with entertaining a thought without accepting. When I was reading the book Emily gave me, there was some things I'm like, that's interesting, but I don't believe that necessarily. And with your thing about like, my mom has an interesting theory. She's a Christian. She has an interesting theory on reincarnation because there is a lot of interesting evidence and things there. One thing I got to say to like other Christians, or not just Christians, everybody, a lot of people in religions or groups and stuff like that, they're very closed-minded. They shut down when something like a lot of Christians would shut down just bringing up.
If it's not by the book, then like
talking about past lives. I'm like, no. I'm not saying you have to accept it and just bring it into your doctrine or whatever. I'm saying just listen, hear it out. Yeah. So yeah, I was reading it and I was finding it interesting. Like I find the scenes very interesting.
This book goes into how they lived.
Yeah.
And why, like, I always say, like, whenever I'd recommend Dolores' books, is like, if I was on an island, you know, like that question, like, what would you bring? I would bring one of her books. Because her books are, like, they feel like half fiction, half non-fiction, half mystery, half, like, they, almost like every genre of books is in her book. Mm-hmm. It's almost a documentary because she's she's a hypnotist. But even that word is so like misused, I think, right now. But it's like a deep meditation that she puts a person into, and then just start remembering whatever they remember. She like writes down, and she's just like a journalist. So her books feel like all the genres that are out there. That's how her books feel to me. So whenever I pick her book up, like, oh, this feels like I'm reading all sorts of books, not just one kind of topic book. And she goes into such deep things in there. Like, she has a book, Convoluted Universe, and how, like, everything is working in the universe. And it's, like, about everything. It's such a nice read.
Because, like, when I go to Coles or Chapters, I don't go there too often because they've got a heavy political bias. So the section I go to is, like, war, crime, history, and then right behind me is spirituality and religion. Yeah. So I definitely saw that book because when you said the name, I was like,
Convoluted Universe?
Yeah, it sounds very familiar.
Highly suggest to,
but yeah. Did I ever tell you a story about, I think it was Kohl's in, it was in Lime Ridge Mall in Hamilton. And I was just, I don't know if I was bored, but I just wanted to trigger somebody. I walked in there, and I don't know if you might want to censor this, but there's a book called Dangerous Faggot by Milo Yiannopoulos. I had no interest in reading it. But I knew because I started to pick up on their heavy political bias. So I go in there and ask for it, and I say it as loud as I can. And the lady at the counter looked like she literally like soiled her pants. Like, what? I'm like, Dangerous Faggot. Do you have it? By Milo Yiannopoulos.
Oh man. Did they find it?
No, they're like, no, we don't carry that here. Like, basically, like, I'm pretty sure if
Did they actually carry it?
No.
They didn't.
No. They didn't have, like, that one I can understand because it's the title, right?
Yeah.
But, like, when I clued into their political biases, they refused to have, or very little, anything that we considered right-wing. But front and center was Hillary Clinton's new book, Michelle Obama's new book, like all of this stuff, right? Like employee recommended and all this stuff. But if you wanted anything a little bit, like they wouldn't carry Dinesh D'Souza, like and for people who like, I don't give a crap about either side really. Like I just find it interesting. Like these people have a bias. Like I'll read both. I'll read Hillary Clinton's book. I'll read Donald Trump's book. I don't care. I find it ridiculous.
Should we open a bookstore now too?
Well, yeah, I find it insane that there's people that are so afraid of what other people will say or think about them that they won't read or be caught dead holding a book like written by Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump. But like, I don't give a crap. I'll read them both. I think they both should go to prison for war crimes. But anyway, and something that really annoys me, the "what about" thing. Like when we posted that thing about political bias, like so it was Chat GPT that listed those 3 organizations, and there's that person that was like, "We're not going to add Fox to the list." I had to resist the inner like voicing is like, tell that person to shut the f up. Or like I was gonna put like, "Oh, you're not gonna," like in like capitals and small letters. "Oh, we're not gonna add Fox News." Like, no, we're not. You wanna know why? Because no matter where you go, there's like thousands. Everybody is like, yeah, F Fox News. However, there's people like CNN and all those people that were brought up are just as bad, just on the other side. And there's more. There was people that kept backing up the BBC. It's like, "Oh, I don't see how you're BBC." I'm like, 30 seconds examples of political bias and just BS.
I don't know why people do they not use Google?
But it annoys me. Both sides do this too. So if I've talked about how horrible Hillary Clinton, Obama, any of those people are, they're like, "Well, what about Donald Trump and what's his face Bush?" I'm like, yeah, they're bad too. Or vice versa. If I talk about how bad Bush or Donald Trump is, well, Hillary Clinton did this and Obama did. I'm like, yeah, I know. I hate them too. Shouldn't use that word, but like if you know what they did, it's very hard not to hate them.
I just wanted to read a quick paragraph, maybe just like randomly opened it. I was searching for the contents, but they're not here. He doesn't have contents in this book.
Which one is that?
The Mike Majlak.
Oh no! Oh, I think I hurt my back. My workout. Yeah, I just bent like this, and I was like, "Ooh, a lot of pain."
Are you gonna be okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
Sure, you're breathing.
Yeah.
You're not breathing, man. Yeah. Whenever I speak to an addict now, I always remember to remind them of one important concept that I almost lost in my own dependence. Addicts are people too. Many times during my sobriety, I saw people kicking addicts who already have so much working against them. People say they have no sympathy for the addicts who have all the power to change their lives, but don't do so. I have even heard some people say they don't feel sorry for the boy or girl who pays the ultimate price and dies in their addiction.
Yeah, that's crazy cold.
Sometimes I am quick to become angry at these people. I ask them, how would you feel if that was your brother or sister and their life was cut down by addiction? Would you make the same heartless statements if that was your best friend who lost a battle that burdens the lives of so many?
So those people are definitely like the ones I was talking about before, like letting too many things get to them and becoming cold. Like I understand, like there's instances where you could be annoyed with people, like not just even mildly annoyed, but very angry with people with addiction. When I worked in security, I think there's also an aspect with power too. Like, not saying security guards have any power really, but I see with police and soldiers and stuff like that, when they're dealing with people like this, like, I mean, they tend to be very cold. Like I was saying, like working with security, a lot of almost exclusively the trouble that I had to deal with kicking people out of bars or spots like that was someone with addiction, somebody on like meth or something, acting really, and when they're putting you in danger and stuff like that, it's very easy to start, like, night over night having that happen. You start to get cold. You catch yourself becoming cold. And I remember one time I said something about somebody, like an addict, that I was like, I can't remember. I just remember the look on people's faces that were like, that's not who you are. That's not Jordan. Like, one of the reasons why I left security was because of that. But like you have a heart for people. Why are you being so cold? And I was like, okay, because I kept having those instances. But
yeah,
it's very difficult. But his argument, like, or what he was saying, is 100%. Like, now it's easier now. Like, I look back now that I'm dealing with addiction. I feel like I'm being too hard on myself, but like coming out of that and stuff like that, I can relate more to. Because I can see like one of my things that I'm very serious about, and I try to get other people to do too, is learning about yourself, like becoming very self-aware. And I recognized it helped me start to ask for help too, because I recognized where I was with my addiction, and I knew what the next step was. I'm like, I'm already in a bad spot. Like I'm drinking at work. I'm drinking first thing in the morning. It's only gonna get worse from here, and I know like the next step is like drinking and driving. Like I hate that. Like that idea, like that. I'm like holy crap. I don't want to do that. So I'm like, I got to get help now before it gets any worse. And something else that people do that get cold is they do a lot of reflecting. So they think that they would never get to that point, and they think because I can do it, this person should be able to do it too. And they're not thinking like, well, what were they going through in their life that you never went through, right? Because I do that too. Like it comes from self-esteem issues where it's like I can do this and I'm nothing special, so everybody else should be able to do it too. It's why like people told me that I'm not a good teacher with some things because, and well, I'm getting better, but like idea like where I'm like that idea where I can do this, it's easy for me, and I'm garbage and I suck, so you should be able to do it too, because you're better than me.
I get it, and I heard like Joe Rogan say, but like take characters like David Goggins. I feel like both messages should be out there.
Mm-hmm.
Like there should be someone still saying like, if I did this, you can do it too.
Well, it's because people are different.
Yeah.
So that works for some people.
Yeah, that's
the
the
David
thing.
Goggins approach works for some people, and then the other approach works for other people.
Because I feel like we all do that. Like we see someone doing something, and we in our like we judge in that sense. We say like, wait, if they did that, maybe I could do it. We do it, like we say those things in our head. So but then we judge people who say like it harshly. Like David Goggins says like, I'm running, why can't you kind of run? That's his vibe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like both messages should be out there. There
Yeah.
should be people who are
Because
helping people.
People are different.
Yeah, and there should be people who say like, you can do it by yourself.
Yeah.
Like both messages.
And the people who help people, it's very good if they can recognize
Yeah.
which one they're dealing with,
Yeah.
like which one they need. Because the people that can't handle the tough love approach, like you're not going to help them.
Yeah, it comes back to self-awareness, like you said. Like you just have to be aware, and sometimes we go wrong with that. Sometimes we think like, no, that person needs this, and you're trying to help, and then they need something else.
Yeah, and there's people that want to help too. That certain approaches come to them more naturally. Like I want to help people, but it's harder. Like I gotta remember, like some people, there's people in my life that I want to help, and the get up, wimp kind of attitude, like let's move, get up, stop being a bitch. Let's like that comes to me more naturally. But there's people in my life that are not going to respond to that.
Yeah.
Especially like it's not exclusive. Like it's not like there's always exceptions to the rules, but generally girls, like women, they don't handle that very well. I've learned. It makes it worse for them, or they get angry and they can't. They either get more upset or they get angry. And
did you sleep on the couch?
No, I didn't do that to my wife. There's there's a lot of people in my family and friends, like childhood friends, that I'm like, I want to help these people, but also like there's the different approaches, but also like there's people like pride. The reason why I keep hitting home hitting with humility constantly in my Ruck March videos is because it took me humbling myself a lot to ask for help and then take the help that people were offering. It's like if you have a lot of pride, it's funny, a lot of people that have self-esteem issues also have pride issues. It seems kind of contradictory, but it's not. Like I had self-esteem issues and pride issues. So I couldn't ask for help, and if I did, I didn't want to accept the help people were giving me. And I know there's some people that I want to help that they're not there yet. That's why I said working with people, it's baby steps, something like that. I think you do that. Like there was things where you're like, okay, I want to help Jordan, but like what's the right way to say it or the right thing to say? And like, because
we all do that.
Yeah.
And then we all kind of explore, and sometimes we go wrong in the help. Like that's life.
Yeah.
Sometimes you overdo it, sometimes you underdo it, and then like you can't beat yourself up for any of it.
There's so many people I know personally that, like I said in my other videos, that they're underachieving. Like they're capable of so much more.
Yeah.
And I want to push them to do it, but there's just
maybe the biggest thing is like through example, and also like sometimes family can't help family. They have like too preconceived ideas of who you are
Yeah.
that you can't get to them.
That's a
It's
very
like
good
someone
point.
else needs to just help them, and maybe your help would be like, can you talk to him, kind of thing, or
Yeah.
that kind of
Or
thing.
or the help. I think the best thing I'm doing for my friends and family right now is doing example, loading the videos like, hey, look, I'm doing this. Like, you can do it too.
Without directly speaking to that person, and just like,
Because you're right. A lot of them remember, like, isn't that little, like,
yeah,
little shit that did this and
that's
that?
what they
And,
remember.
like, what do you know?
Yeah,
Uh,
and you can't
yeah.
kind of go around that. It's just that's how they remember you. It's unfortunate that we
Mhm.
like. I try my best to like
You,
look at a person in a fresh way daily.
I would hope, like, I wish, or I would think, like, I like to think that they would see, like, yeah, he was that little turd that was doing all this stuff, but now look at him.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I don't know, some people, like, again, with pride and stuff like that. Like, I want to, like, yeah, I was that little loser that you're thinking of. Now I guess I need to become more, like, I'm going to be more successful with all the things I'm working on, but I guess I need to be further along maybe, and then we can see that, like,
Yeah, maybe.
my business picking up, maybe someday.
Sometimes it just takes time. Like,
Yeah.
that's what
But I
it
can
is.
see, like, yeah, I was that little loser that you're thinking that you have locked in your mind. I'm no longer that person. That Jordan's long gone.
Yeah, but we can't expect that person to think of you differently, right?
Yeah.
So, should I read a page from this? Tell me a number. This is gonna be a hard. What?
33.
Why do you go like, such low numbers?
I don't know. Like, it's Jesus, and he died at 33, and it's Easter, so 33 just popped in my head.
Okay. As more caves yielded up their hidden treasure of knowledge, archaeologists began to wonder how such an accumulation came to be hidden in the desert. Only then did they begin to look questioningly at the nearby ruins. Maybe it was something. It reminded me of Family Guy, or is it Family Guy? Ruins.
What?
Did I ruin it? What is it? When Stewie says something, ruined.
Yeah. When he was saying it wrong?
Yeah, you were saying
There's
it wrong.
whip.
Whip? Was it
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
But wasn't there like
It's
another
coof
thing?
whip.
Cool whip?
Yeah,
Cool
and
whip?
they're like, what are you saying?
Yeah,
Like, what? What are we on now?
I don't know
How
why
did
I
we
did
get
this.
to this?
I don't know. It reminded me of that. That word, like, anyways. Maybe it was something more than just an army garrison?
Yeah.
Maybe there was some connection. The first excavations in the winter of 1951 turned up nothing to support the theory, but during 1952 it was proven conclusively that the scrolls had originally come from whoever had lived in the ruins.
Are you talking about the Dead Sea Scrolls? Or?
Yeah, they're talking about how, because it's such a low number in the book.
I love the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Yeah, she says like the history of how they were found.
Did you ever read the Book of Enoch? That's some fascinating stuff.
No.
I think, yeah, it's Book of Enoch. I think is the one that goes into all these different classifications of angels and demons and like the fallen angels and stuff. And, like, it's very interesting stuff. It's cool. You learn about there's more archangels than Lucifer, Michael, and Gabriel. Learn about some battles between angels and demons and fallen angels. It's cool.
So what you think aliens are?
Yeah. The disembodied souls
At
of
some point
those
we'll do
beings.
a podcast on aliens. Did you want to continue doing the books or how?
Well, how far are we in here? What time is it?
I think I have to kind of go. Ish.
Yeah.
It's like 2. We should continue this. It's 3 already.
It'd be nice to not have to worry about time. But
family, kids.
Yep.
But I like this segment kind of thing, podcast. Should do more book reviews.
I literally unpacking my books. I'm like, holy crap, I got way too many books.
Which is good for the podcast.
And then I didn't even think my Audible account, my Kindle account, they've got I think Audible, because it's more expensive than Kindle. I think it's only got 50 books, but my Kindle's got a few hundred
books.
Yeah, so that's why I'm like, okay, I do like having physical copies of books. However, it's pretty cool that I've got over 100 books just in the palm of my hand.
Yeah, I prefer reading it physically, but it's way cheaper to have the. Is it way cheaper? Some ebooks are almost the same.
So some of my Kindle is full of books I either got for free or got for a couple cents because they have these deals. I got all of C.S. Lewis's books for $1 one time. They had this massive deal where it's if you buy them as a package, you get all of it for $1. And then there's like sometimes there's books that like the book I read about General Patton and it's like Stalin and Mao. Like they have these things where it's like you buy them as a package, you get them basically for a cent each, or a couple cents each, and then buy a big package. So it's kind of like it's like Steam for books. You ever use Steam for video games?
Yeah, a little bit. I know what it is.
Yeah, so like it's like that for books, like massive deals. You can get a whole bunch of books at once.
Okay, should we end? Should we actually properly learn how to end a podcast? Like,
Well, yeah, we didn't even do an intro. It's funny, since episode 1, people are like, yeah, you need an intro and an outro.
we don't need an intro, but we probably should. I don't know. But what do we say? We say off-grid your mind, subscribe.
Like, subscribe, share.
Like
We'll do all the
garbage
cliches.
people say.
What are all the cliches? So there's like, subscribe, share, follow us on, we're on everything. Either off-grid your life or off-grid your mind. I would say off-grid your mind because that's everything. Off-grid your life is just my random thing.
Watch
You have
daily news.
like you have
share
Vitali
it.
meditation, so like
Yeah.
you can.
But
pitch
like
that.
I don't like all of the stuff that we do together. Like I kind of keep it here.
Yeah.
Meditation is just so like.
Yeah, like
Feel separate.
off grid your life. I kind of want to do something like where it's like separate, but people know that I'm with off grid your mind.
But like that post that we did that's shared with us walking on the beach.
Yeah.
It's a good way to post like that.
Yeah.
So whenever you clip, you maybe like put you know how to do it now or no? Did you see? Like when you post a video and then you include me, like or
Yes.
like off grid your mind.
Yeah, I tagged
There's
you
like a
in
tag there too.
I tagged. So I posted on off grid your life.
Not just the tag. It has to be like a shared. It's just on Instagram. If you just tag,
Okay, I did it on TikTok. I didn't do it on Instagram.
uh,
Like so I made.
I think you tagged me on Instagram, but it doesn't. I can't. If you just tag me, I can't share that on my feed. If you there's like tag on the left, and then there's some like allow as like a collaboration.
Oh.
You have to press on the collaboration.
The Adam that commented on Instagram said I would have come if I would have known. Is that Adam that I met?
No, I don't think so.
Oh,
I
is that
thought it
somebody
was
you don't even know?
No, I don't know. I thought it was your friend. I don't know.
No, I have no idea who that was.
Okay.
I thought it was Adam that I met at Blue Mountain, but I was like, this doesn't
No.
look like him. I didn't actually click on the profile.
Yeah, that's not him. We still need to bring him on. Adam, if you're watching this, when are you coming, man? Damn it.
Yeah.
He probably has a lot of books. I'm not sure if he reads like online or anything. But also, we are on TikTok. I'm gonna work on Twitter too. I want all the clips.
Yeah. Since I started
Be on
doing
Twitter.
Facebook, yeah. Like,
If you're doing Facebook, though, putting some clips on there.
yeah.
Because I hate Facebook. I don't want to.
I hate all of it, to be honest. Except for, okay, I resisted TikTok so much. And now I'm like, oh, shit, I kind of like TikTok.
It's honestly like remember you said like when people search Germany or whatever like on other platforms,
Mhm.
it tells them like not the truth. I
Yeah.
feel like there's more truth in TikTok.
But I think there's also like a double edge to that. So China, because it's it's owned by a Chinese company that has to answer the CCP. I did notice that it loves to create echo chambers, right? It's very hard for me because a lot of the stuff I like is considered right wing, even though I wouldn't consider myself right wing. But I'm really into fitness and guns and military stuff. So it keeps sending me a lot of like politically biased stuff to the right. And like stuff I don't give a crap about, like I cannot stop getting the Bud Light thing. And I'm like, first of all, I hate Bud Lights, garbage beer. I don't give a crap about. What was his name? See, I can't remember the person's Mulvaney. Devin. It's a unisex name, and Mulvaney, I think. I don't give a crap, but I'm just getting bombarded with it. It's like, oh, you should be mad about this. So I think there is an element where it's like, if you're right wing, they'll try to get you in your echo chamber, get you angry about all the things the left wing is doing, and vice versa if you're left wing. There is destabilization tactics in that. Like the West does it to all of their enemies. China does it to all their enemies. Russia does it all. It's fourth or fifth generational warfare. So I definitely think there's a lot of elements of that. However, I will be scrolling through TikTok and I'll come across one where this guy's yelling at me. He's like, "Get up, you fat bitch! Get off of TikTok and start working out." I'm like, I gotta shut off TikTok and start working out.
That's the thing. I almost do zero scrolling on TikTok because I find it very time consuming. Because how do you do it? Like you can't. I guess you can't search something on it and then like. I even forgot how it goes because whatever feed it gives you, you just have to constantly scroll, right?
Yeah. Well,
Unless if you search a word.
I don't actually search anything. It's just because it's picked up on what I like,
Yeah,
and
I
it just
hate doing
sends me
that.
stuff
I
I
hate
like.
doing that. Like,
But it's like fitness stuff, and like I've got so many new. So you know how I'm a big fan of genres that you wouldn't think go together, like that opera metal song I like. I came across something that was showing me like Viking style metal mixed with techno. I was like, I freaking love this.
save the cool things, because we need to like share probably like the good accounts, because I don't scroll at all. Like, I like Instagram's feed better because it gives you like all random stuff on a bigger, like, you know how it's like zoomed out. It's like the
Yeah, I followed this one page called Trad West. So this is probably why people think I'm right wing or like into like crazy right wing propaganda. But it's true. It's all true stuff. It's basically like take care of yourself, go lift weights, make some money, raise a family,
that's on
have kids.
TikTok.
Yeah. Well, it's on everything. Trad
Yeah,
West. A lot of people are like, oh, this is crazy. How is it crazy right wing propaganda? It literally just says just take care of yourself and your family and your community.
that's crazy. That's a crazy talk,
Why is that considered controversial?
because you're not supposed to have a family. You're not supposed to be healthy. What is it?
You're not supposed to be successful?
Yeah, that's what it is. Anyways, like, subscribe, watch us on Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram,
That's
Facebook,
all the
possibly.
things, really.
Podcast. Listen to Spotify.
Spotify, yeah. I honestly, I don't care about any of them. I like YouTube and, well, I like the platform. Not how do you explain this? I like how YouTube works. I grew up on YouTube. Like I was obsessed with YouTube since it came out in 2007, 2006, whatever. And then Spotify. Everything else, I'm like whatever. Okay. So are you still borrowing some of these books?